Welcome to list-worthy summary recap of the 1983 movie Trading Places. It stars Eddie Murphy as Billy Valentine, a street hustler, and Dan Aykroyd as Louis Winthrop III, a guy so snobby and rich he can't open his own doors, shave his own face, or choose his own clothes. Louis works for these two old guys, brothers Randolph and Mortimer Duke, who own a brokerage firm and are major a-holes.
Said you were greedy. She meant it as a compliment.
Apart from simply working for the Dukes, Louis is also engaged to their niece Penelope. One morning, the Duke brothers get into an argument about nature versus nurture. Randolph Duke is on the side of nurture, while Mortimer is on the side of nature.
You can put Winthrop anywhere and he's going to come out on top. Breeding, Randolph, same as in racehorses. It's in the blood.
That very day, Valentine meets Winthrop when he accidentally bumps into him on the street, and Winthrop, being the rich cowardly limp noodle that he is, thinks Valentine is trying to mug him and calls out for help.
Help! Help! What you talking about, man?
Don't shoot! Take it! Please don't kill me! I'm getting married!
After a short chase, the police apprehend Valentine. The Dukes witness the entire unfortunate scene, and instead of feeling bad for the injustice befalling Valentine, they decide to carry out a little experiment that comes with a wager of $1. Randolph bets that given the right surroundings, resources, and encouragement, he can turn a common criminal like Valentine into an honest, respectable, and productive member of society who can run their company just as well as Winthrop. And he further bets that Winthrop, if he were to lose his job, house, money, fiancé and friends, thrown in jail and disgraced, would resort to a life of crime and hold people up at gunpoint in the streets. Each brother, determined to prove their positions in the nature versus nurture argument, decide to carry out the experiment immediately. Valentine spends the night in jail, but the next day, the Dukes use their influence to make the charges against him disappear, and he is released. The Dukes drive up to Valentine in their car as he is leaving the police station and invite him in. They try to come off as friendly, but instead end up looking very creepy, and Valentine is rightly skeptical of them, thinking they are trying to solicit sexual favors from him.
Step inside, nice and warm in here. Whiskey, all you want.
Despite all the red flags, Valentine still decides to get into the Dukes' car and just goes along with everything, even though he is very clearly uncomfortable in their presence. When Winthrop leaves for work, the Dukes, working in cahoots with Winthrop's butler Coleman, bring Valentine into Winthrop's house. They have him take a bath, dress him up in some nice clothes, and tell him that the house is now his. They even give him Winthrop's job in their company. Everything the Dukes offer Valentine is too unbelievable to him. But eventually, the Dukes have him convinced that what they are offering is very real and that there are no strings attached. With Valentine now settled into his new comfy life, the Dukes then turn their attention to Winthrop. As he is walking into their own men's club, the Dukes have their henchman Clarence Beeks plant marked money on him. When all the other club members are present, he is framed as a thief and humiliated when the police come to arrest him. Everyone just watches his disgrace silently, and in a scene that mirrors the injustice suffered by Valentine earlier in the movie, literally no one speaks up for him to vouch for his good character. At the police, things only get worse when a dirty cop who was bribed by the Dukes' henchman plants drugs on him. Winthrop tries to defend himself in his own snooty rich boy way, but the only thing he gets for his troubles is a black eye and a bloody mouth. His girlfriend comes to bail him out, but again things go wrong when Ophelia, a prostitute hired by Clarence Beeks, walks up to him and acts a little too familiar with him by talking dirty to him and making him look like a drug-pushing cheater.
Louis, who is this person?
I've never seen this woman before in my life.
Penelope dumps Winthrop and leaves him alone in front of the police station. Penniless, Winthrop is forced to ask Ophelia the prostitute for help in getting home by paying his taxi fare and promises her some monetary compensation in return. When he gets to his house, unfortunately, his butler Coleman acts like he doesn't know him and refuses to let him into the house, which is now Valentine's house. The butler even threatens to call the police on him.
If you don't go away, I shall be forced to call the police.
Winthrop goes to the bank to try and access his money, but learns that his accounts have been frozen by the IRS. The bank manager tells Winthrop that they don't want his kind of business in their bank because word on the street is that he is a heroin dealer and that he was fired from his job for embezzling. His credit cards get repossessed and he is unceremoniously thrown out of the bank.
Roger.
Now that he is broke and homeless, Ophelia takes pity on Winthrop and lets him stay with her in her humble little house until he can figure things out. Meanwhile, life is going great for Valentine. He is excelling at his job and making the Dukes a lot of money, just like Winthrop used to do. In fact, he does so well, Mortimer starts to fear he will lose the bet to his brother. So to try to prove that people like Valentine can't change, he drops a huge wad of cash in Valentine's office, hoping he will be tempted to steal it. But to his disappointment, Valentine does the honorable thing and returns the cash to him. Before Randolph can celebrate his victory over his brother, Mortimer reminds him that to win, the second part of the bet needs to be fulfilled. Some time passes and Winthrop reaches out to his country club friends for help, hoping they will loan him a bit of money so he can clear his name. But they shun him and mock him. To make matters worse, his fiancée Penelope has already moved on to one of his so-called friends.
Nobody wants to buy your drugs here, Louis. Why don't you just go away?
Winthrop leaves disappointed and heads to a pawn shop to sell his expensive watch, the only thing of value he has left. But the pawn shop owner thinks the watch is stolen and only offers him $50 for it, when it is really worth upwards of $6,000. Winthrop, who is increasingly bitter about his luck, decides to trade the watch for a gun instead of taking the $50. In the evening, Valentine is at a business dinner at a restaurant, having fun and charming everyone with his unique wit, while Winthrop stands miserable in the rain and hatefully staring at the man who has taken over his life through the window. The only good thing left in Winthrop's life is Ophelia the hooker, who has a heart of pure gold. She even goes as far as to take care of him and snuggle him when he gets sick. Winthrop's breaking point comes when one morning he reads a newspaper article about Valentine, praising him and how he has shaken up the Duke's brokerage firm.
Christmas, huh? I'll give him a Christmas present he'll never
Overcome
forget.
with anger and jealousy, he crashes a Christmas party at Duke and Duke, disguised as a Santa, and tries to plant drugs in Valentine's office to make him look bad, but his dumb plan doesn't work. Half mad and still feverish from his illness, Winthrop ends up scaring everyone at the party by pulling out a gun and threatening to shoot. But luckily, he hasn't taken leave of all his senses, so he ends up leaving without hurting anyone. With the second part of the bet that required an honest man like Winthrop be turned into a violent gun-wielding criminal fulfilled, Mortimer loses the bet to his brother and is ready to put an end to all the charades. Valentine, after the stressful ordeal Winthrop put him through with the gun and all, goes to the bathroom to relax with a joint Winthrop left behind. He accidentally overhears the Dukes talking and learns of the entire scheme the Dukes orchestrated and is horrified at how they ruined an honest man's life and how they plan on getting rid of them both now that the game was over. Valentine tracks Winthrop down and finds him just in time as he is about to try to kill himself in Celia's bathtub. Valentine takes Winthrop back to his house and nurses him back to health with the help of the now remorseful butler Coleman, and informs him of the bet the Dukes made.
For how much?
$1.
$1.
While watching a television news broadcast, They learn that the Duke's henchman, Clarence Beeks, is transporting a secret United States Department of Agriculture report on orange forecasts. Winthrop and Valentine both recall large payments made to Beeks by the Dukes. They realize the Dukes will obtain the report early to corner the market on frozen concentrated orange juice. Armed with this new information, Winthrop and Valentine start to plot their revenge against the Dukes with the help of Ophelia and Coleman.
Turn them into poor people.
On New Year's Eve, the four board Beeks' train in disguise, intending to steal the crop report and switch it with a forgery that predicts low orange crop yields. Beeks uncovers their scheme and attempts to kill them, but he is knocked unconscious by a gorilla being transported on the train. The four disguise Beeks with a gorilla costume and cage him with the real gorilla. After delivering the forged report to the Dukes in Beeks' place, Valentine and Winthrop travel to New York City with Coleman and Ophelia's life savings to carry out their plan. On the commodities trading floor, the Dukes commit all their holdings to buying frozen concentrated orange juice futures contracts. Other traders follow their lead, inflating the price. Valentine and Winthrop short sell frozen concentrated orange juice futures contracts at the inflated price. Following the broadcast of the actual crop report and its prediction of a normal harvest, the price of orange juice futures plummets. Valentine and Winthrop buy futures at the lower price from everyone except the Dukes to fulfill the contracts they short sold earlier, managing to turn obscenely immense profits for themselves. After the closing bell, Valentine and Winthrop explain to the Dukes that they too made their own bet on whether they could get rich and make the Dukes poor at the same time.
I lost. $1.
The exchange manager and his assistants approach the Dukes to settle their margin call. When the Dukes make it clear that they do not have the $394 million due, which today would be equivalent to over $1 billion, the manager orders the Dukes' exchange seats sold and their corporate and personal assets confiscated, effectively bankrupting them. Randolph collapses, holding his chest, and Mortimer rages at the others, demanding the floor be reopened in a futile plea to recoup their losses.
Back in here! Turn those machines back!
The now wealthy Valentine, Winthrop, Ophelia, and Coleman vacation on a tropical beach. Winthrop and Ophelia are a couple. Valentine has a woman in his life, and even Coleman manages to score himself a beautiful young girlfriend. Beeks, on the other hand, is still trapped in a cage with a gorilla, and he gets loaded onto a ship that is bound for Africa. And that, in a nutshell, is what happens in the movie Trading Places. It is a super fun movie to watch, and I give it a rare watchability rating of 9 out of 10. I would have given it a 10 out of 10, but there was that moment in the movie where Winthrop donned blackface and I was not amused.